Hello boys and girls, Bored now back with you for another retro television review, and on this video I return to Sunnydale and the second season of Buffy the Vampire Slayer. This is going to be episode 8 of season 2, episode 8, I said 8th which is weird, and it is called The Dark Age. So this episode is directed by Bruce Seth Green, no relation to Seth Green as far as I know, who returns actually from Halloween. He directed that episode a couple of episodes ago, and I think he might have directed another one from season 1 or maybe earlier in this season, but it done at least 2 up to this point, and certainly Halloween was an impressive episode. Whether you would say the direction was like standout, I'm not too sure. It was certainly pretty solid direction. So he returns to direct this one, and you have a couple of different writers. You have Dean Battley, who I don't think has wrote before, but you also have Rob Des Hotel, the glorious name of Rob Des Hotel. He's back as part of this duo writing this episode. I can't quite picture where he's shown up before, but he's definitely written episodes in the past. So you've got a couple of writers. As I said, Bruce Seth Green directs. This episode it's an interesting one, this one, because it follows up from Halloween actually, and something that was set in motion, which is obviously that episode introduced the villain of Ethan Rayne, who becomes sort of a recurring villain. He has a few different appearances. And we find out in that episode that Giles knows him and that he has a past with Giles, which is hinted at. And of course, at the end of the episode, he kind of makes his getaway once his plot has been foiled, and he leaves a note at like his costume shop the next day for Giles, which says, "I'll be seeing you soon," or something, or just "I'd be seeing you." So as I said, this episode builds on that really and gets more into their past, and it involves the Mark of Iogun, which at the start of the episode Giles hears that one of his former university friends has been killed by this mysterious entity, and throughout the episode, later on I think another one is killed, and he quickly realizes what is going on, and he reads up about the Mark of Iogun, and Ethan Rayne's back in town, which is of concern. And the Scoobies and Buffy start seeing this really kind of darker side, or this really disturbed side to Giles. He even misses a meeting with Buffy, a training session or something like that at one point, which she's really freaked about, because she's this is unlike Giles to miss this sort of a thing. So he starts acting all weird, and throughout the episode we start learning then about his past with Ethan Rayne, and them getting into all sorts of black magic and occult back in their university days. And we find out that they first experimented with the Mark of Iogun all the way back then, and that it's now basically caught up with them. It's now making them pay for what they did back at university. And it's one of these gimmick style episodes where it's this kind of almost magic tattoo kind of thing. And you need to have a mark sort of engraved on you for it to actually be passed on, which becomes a thing later in the episode when Ethan tries to like move it into Buffy's body. But the whole thing is, it's kind of almost like a virus type idea where it's like pursuing the people who originally had it or originally set it free. So as I said, it kills a couple of different people from this group from the university days. So it's also targeting Giles, and it's also targeting Eve and Rain because they were the other people involved. So the title, The Dark Age, actually makes sense. But it's sort of a big character episode for Giles, because we're still at the stage of the series where we don't really know a great deal about his past. So this opens up more of what becomes known as his Ripper phase, where he had this nickname Ripper, which we got a little hint of in Halloween because, of course, he tortured Eve and Rain for a long time. And even though it didn't really show you that much graphic, I think it was just so well sold by Anthony Stewart Head, really, his performance, his like intensity, and the menace in the eyes. It shows you what a great and versatile actor he is, actually, because not only can he do like the kind of, fatherly, gentle Giles and the bumbling like librarian type thing, but he can also play the more serious and the more nasty side when he goes into Ripper mode. But this is essentially the side which he has been hiding all these years from, and been hiding from Buffy, and it's something which obviously really shocks them when they find out. But it's an odd episode because on the one hand it's an important episode for Giles, and there's certainly a good idea behind it, and it is doing some good things. But on the other hand, as I said, it does feel a bit of a gimmick episode, and it kind of feels like a bit of that more cheesy Monster of the Week style thing. So it's this awkward sort of mix, which I don't think they quite get right, and I think in the end it's quite a forgettable episode, although there are certainly scenes that stand out. It's certainly not one of the worst episodes up to now. It's just that it doesn't ultimately work in what it's trying to do. And it is a darker episode. You don't get so much of like the entertaining dialogue or things like that. So it's kind of an odd one, where it's kind of firmly in the middle, like an in-between episode. It's sort of solid enough, but nothing great, and it certainly has its flaws. And I think it just comes off as a bit cheesy, like this whole, because we get like these psychedelic style imageries and sort of like these like almost looks like this drug induced like rock and roll type thing, when sort of flashbacks, but also when we see them going back into like these occult type scenes, and it never comes off quite how I think they intend it to, and the effects aren't quite there. I think as someone who appreciates B movies and this kind of thing, and there is something kind of gross and almost body horror about some of the stuff they do in the episode, so I kind of appreciate that, but there's no escaping the fact that it does feel like a cheesy sort of episode, a cheesy like gimmick style episode, even though it's not just that. It actually is an important episode for Giles, so it obviously deserves marks for that. But yeah, I do go kind of in the middle on this episode. I think it's sort of roughly an average type of episode. Obviously great to see Ethan back. He's a really strong kind of villain, and I do like that we build on the stuff with him and Giles and their past. And obviously Jenny comes into play, and the actual sort of ending when, because what ultimately happens is that Jenny gets in the line of fire, and she gets infected by the marker basically, and they don't actually know this at first, and Joel's like, it's like, come on, I'll take you home. And there's a nice little reveal shot for the audience, because it cuts to a shot of her eye, and this kind of well, this like green type thing just in the eye, just signaling that she's been like infected and taken over. And one thing I will say is that evil Jenny, like evil seductive Jenny, it's really good. It's another side to her, and I think you can tell the actress really enjoys playing that side. She really just goes for it. Because I enjoy Jenny as a character, and I like the relationship with Giles. I don't think the actress is that good, even though I enjoy the character. I think normally when she's asked to like deliver like more dramatic moments, she's not the best, because I don't think she'd had much experience of acting when she first got this role, because I know I've heard the fact that she was in like Prince's band, for example. Well, not his band, but in his like stage thing, she was a dancer, and that was quite close to this. So this may have been her first acting role, if not one of her first. But I still enjoy Jenny as a character, and I think it's still good casting because she does look believable in the part. It's just that when it comes to the more heavy dramatic scenes, I don't think she really delivers. But so there is something about her playing like the evil seductress which actually works really well, because there's an example of it in season 3 as well, which I'll get to. But so I did enjoy that part of the episode where she turns evil and she tries to seduce Giles and just starts acting a bit out of character, where she's kind of like too carefree in a way. And I do enjoy that scene. I think it's actually quite subtly done, because you can see how at first Giles wouldn't really cotton on that something was up, but I think slowly she just becomes a bit too kind of pushy and like dominant. So gradually he realizes, this is not really Jenny, because she gets really like a bit too like mad almost when he starts kind of saying, this isn't right, let's not do this sort of thing. But as I said, evil seductive Jenny is kind of great. But yeah, ultimately this becomes a big thing, because by the end of the episode, where everything is reversed, Jenny is even more like just disturbed, because as well as Buffy and the others, she had no idea of this side of Giles, of the Ripper side, and obviously there's a bit of resentment, because again, because of her relationship with Giles, it's led to something like this. It led to what happened to her. So although she's quite nice to Giles at the time, you can't help but feel, and I think anyone would have that sense of, well, this is just too much. This is something where if I wasn't involved with him, obviously it wouldn't have happened, and this is just this has just gone a bit too far. This I'm signing on for too much here, which she considers. I mean, she doesn't like go as far as to like end a relationship, but she says to him at the end of the episode, I just need time. And it's actually really good acting, although I said she doesn't do the dramatic stuff that well, the actress. She is actually quite convincing in the scene at the end with Giles, because she does look like really flustered and shaken and not quite herself. She's very pale in it, and I do like the line actually where it references the sound of music, because saying that the hills is the hills are not quite alive with the sound of music, because then Giles repeats it to Buffy, and it's one of these cleverly played scenes where it's kind of like a jokey pop reference moment, but at the same time, it's played as quite serious. It's just like a metaphor sort of thing, but because Buffy's kind of like, oh, I'm sorry to hear that, and there's sort of an ironic tone, but at the same time, it's not really played up as comedy in the scene, and that's a very nice moment at the end as well, because Buffy is actually there for Giles, and sort of supports him and encourages him that maybe you should give yourself a break, sort of thing. And I can't remember what she said, but you were young back then, it was a mistake, you're human. And they have another nice little scene, which they've already had a few at this point in the show, where who would have thought we're human, after all, we're a lot of like who after all, who would have thought it, sort of thing. So I like the drama at the end, and how Buffy is there for Giles in the same way that he's been there for her a few different times, and says maybe you should give yourself a break, you shouldn't be so hard on yourself. But so as far as the character stuff with Giles and the impact it has on his relationship with Jenny, kind of how shocked like it makes like Buffy and the rest, I think that stuff all works really well. It's just maybe the central gimmick and some of the effects that drag it down a little bit. One thing I did find like funny was when they're looking at the picture of Charles, because they're looking in when he starts acting weird and kind of goes off. They're looking into his background, and they find like an old university picture, and it's like him. He looks like David Essex, basically. It's him like playing a guitar. He's got like a cigarette, leather jacket, acting all cool, and Willow's like, "Whoa, that's Giles," and they obviously can't believe it. And I think this is the episode actually where, because they go to his apartment, starting like to look for clues, and Xander sees that he has a TV, and it's like, oh man, Giles has a TV. He is shallow like us, or something like that. So that's one of those great Xander observations. Another touch I like, which is when they overcome this thing, because Buffy tracks down Ethan at like his store, and although she is basically like protecting Ethan from this thing, because obviously that's the right thing to do, but also because she knows it's going to be there, so she can try and stop it and put an end to this thing. And there's some good like back and forth between Ethan and Buffy. Ethan's on sort of fine slimy form, but he kind of tricks her here, which Buffy, a little naive in this scene, I have to point out the way she sort of turns her back to him. So he knocks her out, and when she comes to, he's basically prepping her, to give her like the mark where a tattoo would go, and setting her up for, because if the mark of Igon goes into Buffy instead, then Ethan would apparently get off scot-free. Like it's taken someone else instead, so he would be safe. So that's kind of his feeling. So acting the classic like heel coward. But obviously Buffy manages to fight clear. Her friends show up, and this little plan they hatch is actually really clever, because Angel shows up, and they've worked out then that if it's something without a soul, then it can like overcome this thing. And of course, Angel being a vampire, yeah, he doesn't have a soul. So like he sets himself up, and it goes into Angel, and you get this like really wacky over the top effect, which does work quite well actually for what it's doing. Angel's face goes all blurry, and the mouth goes all over the place and frantic. A bit like the effect in Inner Space, if you've seen that, with Martin Short in The Doctors. Where his whole face just goes really like, I don't know how to describe it, but just up and down, like the jawbones going crazy, that sort of thing. And also, well, it's particularly when he changes into the Cowboy in that film, when he changes his face. So yeah. So it's a similar effect here. It's really freaky. You would have to watch the episode to get a handle on why, but it's quite a cool little effect. But yeah, that's the whole logic, because Angel, he doesn't have a soul, and there's a demon in there already. Then that kind of cancels out the mark of Igon, and kind of kills it and traps it in there. And it doesn't matter to Angel because he's already dead. He doesn't have he does have a soul, sorry, at this point, which is why he's a good vampire. But yeah, because he's already dead and already a vampire, it sort of cancels it out. So I do actually like that, and that was quite a clever way for them to defeat this thing. And it's sort of a good use of Angel, because I think it was his plan. It was either his plan or Willow's. I think it was Angel's plan, because it sort of makes sense and he would come up with it, I guess, because yeah, he would know, sort of thing. But it's sort of a nice swerve on Buffy, because she's there and she's like, what are you doing? And Willow says it's okay, it's fine, and the plan works out, obviously. So that's quite a nice, neat little touch. And that's pretty much the episode. There's not that much to talk about. So as far as episodes go, or episode rating, I'll give it a 6 out of 10. It's decent enough. As I said, I like what it's doing with Giles. I like the idea. It just comes off as a bit goofy, a bit of a gimmick. This awkward sort of mix of an episode, and it's not one that stands out. I don't think there's that many memorable lines or memorable scenes, but it's solid enough. It's certainly not a bad episode. It's just that it's not a great episode either. So 6 out of 10 sounds about right for the Dark Age. And I'm now 20 episodes into Buffy, so I've got a top 20 at this point. Of course, the rankings I've been doing all the way along, and I said earlier this is kind of like a middle ground type episode, and it's roughly about halfway. I've put it in at number 11 on the list, so just underneath The Harvest, and just above Never Kill a Boy on the First Date, which is close because that's actually a very enjoyable episode. It's a very easy to watch episode. Maybe more like comedy wise and enjoyable than this, but overall, as I said, the Joel stuff in this is good stuff. So, and maybe this just feels like a more important episode, but they're both 6 out of 10, I think, episodes, so very close. But as I said, number 11, this goes in on the list. And actually, I'll just read you out the rankings so far in order. So, number 1, Still School Hard. Number 2, Halloween. Number 3, Prophecy Girl. Number 4 is Lie to Me. Number 5, When She Was Bad. Number 6, The Puppet Show. Number 7 is Angel. Number 8, The Underrated Pack. The Pack. 9 is Welcome to the Hellmouth, the pilot. 10 is The Harvest. 11, as I said, The Dark Age. Number 12, Never Kill a Boy on the First Date. Number 13 is The Witch. Number 14, Out of Mind, Out of Sight. 15 is Reptile Boy. 16, I, Robot You Jane. 17 is Nightmares. 18 is Some Assembly Required. 19, Inca Mummy Girl, and number 20, Teacher's Pet. So that's the top 20 so far after 20 episodes in order, and I'll continue the rankings all the way through the show, so see where everything ends up at the end. And I'll do the same with Angel. When I move on to that, I'll do a separate list ranking all the Angel episodes in order. So there you have it. That's Buffy the Dark Age. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. You can like and subscribe. Get me up on Twitter at Keith Beard if you have any thoughts or questions. The next review, I think it's What's My Line, part 1 and 2. I'm pretty sure that's the next episode. So I will review those 2 episodes together. So that's coming up next time. I will just say, you might have noticed on the channel then, I've asked you guys to maybe pick the next series I'll be reviewing, as in the next sort of older series. And so there's a video which went up last night where I give you like the 4 options. Because at the moment, with things slowing down, there will be more free time for me to do other type stuff, other like older type shows. So yeah, check out that video and you can vote on the options. But I will just say the options are The Fugitive, The X-Files, Black Mirror, and Lost. Those are the 4 shows. You can let me know which of those 4 you want to see me review in the future. But this has been my review of Buffy the Dark Age, and I'll be back. I'll try and return within the week with the next Buffy episode and keep this rolling. But thanks for listening, and goodbye.